Dope is what flows in this fam's DNA. Dope is what flows in this fam's DNA.
What's good, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Dope Interviews brought to you by the Mighty 19 Media Group. I'm your host, Warren Shaw. And as always, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, and tap in with all of the great 19 Media content that's out there. Shouts to the homies, Rich Kid Clothing, always keeping 19 Media dripped in the latest. But I need to get to the ish. On today's show, we have one of the music industry's most iconic people in the R&B space. He is Mike Marshall, famous for singing the hook on I Got Five on It, but much, much more to his story than that. My dude, Mike Measy, what's good, family? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm just glad to be here still.
I mean, aren't we all, right?
I hope so.
So you're from kind of like the Bay Area, right? And I wanted to kind of start a conversation there. What makes music in the Bay Area and that space like a little bit different from everything else that we hear out there in kind of the mainstream and like on the East Coast and in the Midwest and things of that nature?
The way I like to think of it, and I tell people, we are the last on the map, kind of, right? You're coming from Europe, you're passing over New York, and then you got to go through the South, and then you eventually get out here to the West. And since that's how it was from the beginning of the America, how it started, right? We are the last to get stuff in California, right? So whatever they're doing in the North and in the East, they'll take a second to get to us. So the way I look at it is like the creativity had to wait a while. I mean, we have our own folks here, but there wasn't really the hip hop aspect way back. So that had to come from the East side to come this way. So I say that to say this. We were raised on funk and soul out here. So we had to incorporate that into the hip hop and the rap music. So that's a noticeable difference between our music and theirs out there. They worked with a lot of jazz in the beginning of it, but we already had soul and funk music, so we kind of incorporated that in our rap, and that's the difference to me as far as the listening and hearing part. Because the East Coast was always on some old school jazz sample that they going off or a break. But man, from as far back as I can remember, the first thing that was going on here was over an old funk song or an old R&B song. So that's, in my opinion, what the differences are.
I mean, I think that's a well thought out answer, Mike. I mean, that's like almost like a little bit of a history lesson, I think, for our listeners as well, too. So, I mean, your breadth of knowledge coming in question one, so I can appreciate that.
All good.
What was, in essence, when I talk to musicians, I always kind of wonder, like, what did you listen to? What was kind of like the soundtrack of your life and people who influenced you to be where you are as an artist and as a singer?
I grew up as a child of a overly religious Black woman, right? She was a single parent. I was the oldest. So if she was going to go to church, we always going to go to church. So in her mind and the teachings at the church that I was raised at, world music, devil music, secular music was not something we should be entertaining. So I was raised on gospel music first 15, 13 years. And it was so deep and embedded in me that when I got of age where it was time to try to show who I was and what I was about, I pulled on things from the church. For example, as a 7th grader, instead of carrying a backpack, I carried a briefcase because that's what the preacher carried.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't put my books in it. It only had a Bible. That was it. Maybe a notepad and a pencil. So I wasn't doing too well in the 7th grade. But, okay, so since it was church music, it was Walter Hawkins and his brother, James Cleveland, a lot of gospel stuff. And then there was one guy who I was sneaking to listen to, and his name was Marvin Gaye. So my cousins used to play that along with Michael Jackson all the time. So whenever I went to visit them, I could hear that at their house. So every time I went there, those are the ones that I looked for, Marvin Gaye and the Jackson 5. because I knew some of those songs. My cousins would make me sing it, right? So those were the things that I grew up on. Most of it was gospel, and then at 16, I kind of started getting into all kind of music, and then I delved into rock and jazz, and then swung it back to R&B, and then into rap. So it started off with gospel.
I think that's the foundation for a lot of people, you know what I mean, in general, wherever you come from, you know what I mean? If you're Black, you started in the church, probably, you know, there's probably good possibility that's where you came from nonetheless.
That's right.
How did you break into show business, really? I mean, like, it's one thing to be kind of singing gospel and church songs and being influenced by that, but it's another thing to get a break and then to actually be on the scene and get a record deal. So how'd you land that initially?
It wasn't planned, like you say, it was a break. I was in a after school club called the Mixologists, so we were inundated with music, and I played a lot of records when I was in my high school years. Me and the guys from that Mixologist club, one of the guys liked to write lyrics, and I was always singing. Either I was getting in trouble for it or getting attention for it. But I had HDAD, so I was always humming or singing, even when I didn't know it. And they called that disrupting the class. So my buddy invited me over to try to sing on this song. I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea, but I was going to go over there and listen to this music that he had. Well, he didn't have music. He had the lyrics. So he showed me the lyrics and said, we need some music for that. So this is around 85, just graduated from high school, and I'm at Laney College taking a piano class. Because I liked the piano. My grandmother had one. I learned how to play it by ear, but I wanted to learn a little bit more theory. So I came home one day, because I live with this guy, right, in West Oakland. And I had been working on a groove at school, which is basically the bass line from I Keep Forgetting by Michael McDonald. I keep forgetting, but I put his lyrics over that after I turned it into a groove. But that's what the bass of it was, from the bass line of I Keep Forgetting by Michael McDonald. That's what the Rumors bass line is. So I did that, and then we turned it, because that was the verse part, so we needed the hook part. So that's how we got to the dun 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 dun, and that's the hook part of Rumors. So we did that, and a guy from Vallejo heard it. It's a long story how it got to him, but he heard it, he liked it, and wanted to invest in it. So he offered to take us to the studio and pay for our studio time to record it. So we did that. Long story short, the radio liked it in the South. Terry Avery from K-Day broke the record, and then it swung back this way, because they wasn't going to play it here. That's just how the Bay Area works. If you're from here and the rest of the world don't know nothing about you and they ain't playing it, you're not going to get on the radio out here. That's the way it was back when I was young. It's still kind of like that, but yeah, that's how it was. So we had to wait for that to swing back. So we didn't know it was doing that. So we didn't even know it was picking up energy and all that. It was just a song that we performed at the talent shows and at gigs where we were DJing at and stuff like that. It was never meant to be a charting song. It was just some vinyl we can have to play at our own parties, and that I can go out there and sing, because I like to sing.
That's crazy, Mike. I mean, so you're telling me Rumors was just kind of like, hey, we just did this thing, and it became this thing.
Yeah,
it
took off, and the Bay Area started liking it. And the guy who took us to the studio, he got a hair up his butt, because now he's bragging to people about the song, but now they playing it, and there's money being generated. This is not something that me and my partners do about, but he was a little older than us, so he kind of understood how it was. So he realized that there was money being generated for us, so he came back to us to try to get us to sign a 10-year deal. We didn't know anything about that. All we knew is that all the stuff we had read about Michael Jackson and Prince, we knew that we did not want to sign with anyone for 10 years. So that kind of how the breakup kind of started after the song kind of took off. Because you would think that with all that momentum with it, it could have went even further, but there was turmoil.
I mean, it happens, you know, unfortunately it does. And we hear that with a lot of groups and things of that nature. So, you know, Timex Social Club didn't reach its full potential potentially, but you
Mhm.
kept going, kept pushing, and I'm gonna fast forward, roughly 10 years later. Walk me through just briefly, how did I Got Five on It kind of come to you? How did somebody say, you know what, that's the dude we need to sing the hook on this situation?
Okay, so the guy who took us to the studio, his name was Jay King.
Okay.
Jay King obviously that 10-year thing, and we told him no. So he told us, okay, I'm going to go find some other people, change the name, and keep moving on with this if you guys don't want to do it. So we told him, okay, we didn't really care. We didn't really know what that meant. So he started a group called Club Nouveau.
Okay.
Now, Club Nouveau didn't have any songwriters because the only songwriters were me and Marcus in this circle. So they had to kind of go off of the stuff that I had did. Now, while working with that J. King guy before there was a breakup, we were working on doing a follow up to that song because he made that clear to us that we would need a follow up. So we were working on other songs. So the guys who worked for him to produce for him for this new group in the future, we had met, and I had introduced him to a couple of the songs that I was trying to do. So after we broke up, that group came out, and the producers produced a lot of stuff that sounded like my stuff. One of those songs uh, from the Timex Social Club, my group was called Thinking About You. Club Nouveau copied it, and their song is called Why You Treat Me So Bad. So that bass line from Why You Treat Me So Bad is the bass line that I hummed to his producers. So they created this song. So Why You Treat Me So Bad is out, and the song from Club Nouveau called Jealousy is out. Those two songs mirror my two songs, Rumors and Thinking About You. So they go on and do their thing. I go on and do my thing, which is I get depressed because now I'm not in this group, but everybody in the Bay Area who knows me is asking me what happened. And I didn't have any answers. Fatherless kid, 3 other siblings, all younger than me. I'm pretty much dad at the house. This is causing me shame. So I get into drugs. So I'm doing drugs and I'm not doing too well. I'm not fully out there totally, but I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. One of my buddies from high school, Anthony Gilmore, his name is Tone Capone. He was working with some, we'll say, some street people. And the thing back then where you would, if you were a street hustler and you had money, you need someplace to invest it. The music business is a great place for that.
Yeah,
Easy way to wash money. So they were taking their runners and the people who moved dope for them, finding who had talent, and putting them in the studio to do records. One of those groups was these 2 kids from a group called the Loonies. So Tone was producing at the time, and he had produced for a lot of people in the Bay Area. So artists knew him, so they were coming to him to do songs for him. So I ended up working for Tone, doing hooks for these rappers who needed hooks in their song. Because again, out here, there was a lot of funk and R&B covered songs for rap. So if those songs had singing in it, if they would try to replicate that in the hip hop song. That's why a lot of songs from the Bay have singers on them, even though sometimes the singer's not so well. It's supposed to remind you of where that song came from, and as they're expressing their new tale in that song and that story that they're doing, they're using the singer. So they came to Tone, these young kids known as the Loonies, and they wanted Tony to replay that music for Why You Treat Me So Bad. Tone knows that I wrote Thinking About You and that I have this issue with Club Nouveau because that song is mine and nobody knows it. So Tone says, why don't we redo the song? You sing a new hook on it, and then we can get publishing this time on it. Let's do it that way. Because I had learned at that time that was the way to go, whereas I didn't know that before. So I was like, okay. So the kids come in and they got this idea about I Got Five on it, about weed. So I took the hook idea that they had and just structured it cadence-wise and melody-wise so it kind of fit into the space where they had it at. And that's how I Got Five on it came to be.
That's a wild story, but at least Tone was willing to pay it back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He knew what the real deal was and was like, nah, let's kind of do it this way.
Yes. Thank God for Tone.
Right. Big up Tone. So what was your initial reaction when you met the Loonies and just kind of like collaborating with them, and again then seeing what the success of the song was after release and really kind of just went worldwide?
What I do remember about that session is that the idea that the kids had, it sounded like it was a good idea because it was about weed, and the theme of it was you can't get high if you ain't got 5 on it. And that was pretty much how it was out there in the world. Now we're gonna go get high this afternoon. You need 5 on it. You need 5 on it because we're gonna go to the fence and get this 20 sack. There's 4 of us. That's how we're gonna afford it. Because I ain't got 10 and I ain't got 20.
Yeah,
but I got 5, 2, or 3, and we can make this work. So that's how we was moving. So they once they showed me the words and I put it down. Once I walked out of that booth and was listening to it in that room, I turned to Tone. I was like, Tone, this is a hit. First of all, the theme is timeless, and that melody people already know, and it's a haunting melody, which is why Jordan used it, right? And that's why the very first thing I say on the song is "creep on in, on in." That's because when it's playing like that, the way Tone produced it, that's a very haunting melody. Ba-dum dum, ba-dum dum, ba-dum dum.
So let me stop you right there. So did the creep on in part, you ad-libbed that part based because you thought the melody was like a little bit haunting, and that's what kind of came to your head when you got in the booth?
Yep. Instead of saying my name at the beginning like I was normally saying, that came out of me just like that. Just creep on in, on in. I even started doing like this because I was like, oh, this shit's kind of spooky. It's all good. But yeah.
That is, Mike, that's a wild story. So the song becomes a smash. It does what it does. Then they do a remix. Do you think that was just going to be kind of natural? Like, we're going to get a remix with like, I don't know, like 8 people on it. And then people have remixed the remix and things of that nature as well, too.
I was out of the loop, so I don't know what those people were doing because that wasn't my group and it wasn't Tone's group. It was kind of like work for hire. So I wasn't really in the loop as they were doing it, but every time I heard the new thing from it, I liked it, especially the remix. It was dope. Yeah. And it made sense because that was a phrase from here. So we should put it on the map for the whole world to see and let them see more than just the Loonies. And the Loonies were unknown at the time.
Yeah.
So they kind of got a stamp of approval with all those people that they had on it. They had 40 and what's that guy's name? The real popular one who was doing that real gangster music, Spice One. When I saw that Spice One was on, I was like, oh, okay. They're trying to be serious about this. 40 is big, but Spice One at that time was, really on street level, and everybody knew his stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? So with him on there, 40 on there, and all the other people that was on there, it worked out. It was a representation of the Bay, and I'm definitely about that.
So I got 5 on it again. Like you said, it's a cultural phrase, really. At some point, I mean, I remember even being in college, and I didn't necessarily smoke. I didn't do those things, so to speak. But hey, somebody's giving me a ride. Hey, man, I got 5 on that gas. You know what I mean? Exactly. On whatever it is, like it really became kind of a catchphrase, I think within our community, so to speak. I want to ask you something like, and you can choose not to answer whatever if you want to, but it's. Has the song been kind of like a gift and a curse for you in some ways?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. It was the song. Yeah, because the anger I had about what Club Nouveau did with that original melody got worse when I got 5 on it, took off, and I wasn't being compensated the way that I was agreed to be compensated. The manager of the group, Chris Hicks, agreed to pay me one thing, but only paid me something else. And when I complained about it later, his lawyer, Evers, I think it's Al Evers. This dude sends me a letter and pretty much in a nutshell says that's whack that you want to ask for more money now that the song is taken off. I'm the one who was in the studio saying it was going to work. Those gangster assholes were only in there to get the record out so they could sell it and wash some money. They didn't believe in the song like I did. So to say that I was coming back later when the whole hook is my voice, and what they didn't know, and I tried to tell them over and over again, that music is mine. I made that music up. You remember a guy called Malcolm McLaren? Are you old enough to remember Malcolm McLaren?
Not quite.
Malcolm McLaren was from the East Coast, and he was doing stuff where he was scratching over beats and piecing together different loops of different songs to make a song. Like there's a song called Buffalo Girls. 2 buffalo girls go round the outside, round the outside, round the outside. Yeah. You know it. That's Malcolm McLaren, that kind of shit. Now, in that song, there's a break where he has this voice goes, and me having HDAD, that locked in my head like an earworm. So I would be doing that, walking around until I turned it into what the bass line of I Got 500 is right now. And that's what I hummed to those guys who work for Jay King for Club Nouveau. So the melody that is on Why You Treat Me So Bad and in I Got 500 is originally from me. I made that melody up. So all that stuff had me, feeling like I wasn't being treated right.
Nah, I'd be tight, because the fact of the matter is like you got screwed over twice on the same situation. Like
Exactly.
that is unbelievable. Do you still talk to the artists at least at all in any capacity? Are you still tight?
Yes, I talked to Yuck. I've talked to Yuck more than I talked to Numb. But when Us movie came out, I saw Numb. He was sitting next to him. I didn't realize it was him until after Chris Hicks walked in front of me as the movie was ending, and we kind of got into it. And then I could see that the person sitting next to me when the lights went up was Numb. So yeah, I'm on good terms with them, but I haven't talked to them in years. But now Chris Hicks, I don't talk to him. I don't talk to. I talk to Tom Capone, but yeah, I'm not really connected that much. I'm a singer, and that's a circle of rappers and producers. I really was an outsider from the beginning, and I was in my addiction. So the youngsters looked at me as just a crackhead, although I didn't miss any work ever. That wasn't my thing. But yeah, just the fact that I did, I think they heard about it and they just, if you don't know somebody, if you hear that that's what they're doing, then you're going to judge them, and that's how you go move with them. So they've never, ever, from the conception of the song, had me come and perform that hook, to the point where now when the song is being performed, there's a whole nother thing going on during the hook. Wow. I got 5 on it, bitch.
Yeah.
Back to I got 5, and I'm like, man, Jesus Christ. People mostly know my voice from that song, and they might not be able to say any of the raps, but they know that hook.
I can't front on you, Mike. I mean, that's real talk right there. I mean, you should have been a rapper too, right? Because you're spitting fire on that one. We're talking with Mike Marshall. Let's take a quick break, man. I want to dive into so much more. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Bonafide. And we're back with R&B legend Mike Marshall. Make sure you're following him on social media at Mike Measy. I love that social, by the way. That's what's up. So let's transition a little bit. Great stories there on, the situation with I Got 5 on it and so forth and so forth. Where has your musical journey taken you since that time?
Well, after I Got 5 on it, I started, I needed something else to do. And I didn't want the attention to be on me. I didn't know that was a thing that was bothering me. But me being up on stage by myself was a lot of anxiety. So I got into a band because they needed a singer to go on a tour that they had already booked, and they had lost their lead singer. So I knew some people who were in that group, and they're from Berkeley. So they called me. The group is the Mofessionals. So they called me, and I joined that band and went on tour with them. And after that tour, they invited me to do an album with them as I was writing with them for the different songs that we did. So we did that project. And right when that project is done and we're getting ready to go and promote it, I run into a woman who's from the Bay Area, but who had lived in Germany and was back visiting a producer named One Drop Scotty Roberts. And he knew this lady named Lori Glory. That's her stage name. I can't remember what her last name is. But she was in Germany working with a black guy over there who had a studio, and he was working with one of those groups over there. I got the power. He was working with them. So, he had a little attention. So she came to the studio where I was at, and she was telling us about this new song that was over there that was super popular, and she heard it was from the States, and she was trying to get in touch with the people. And, we was ignoring her for about an hour, but she kept talking about this song. She was like, what song is it? So she starts singing it. And we look at each other because One Drop Scott is also the guy who helped play the music on the replay of Why You Treat Me of I Got Five on it. So we both laugh and we're like, that's us who did that, right? And she's like, no way. And so I'm like, yeah. So I sang it for her. She's like, man, I can get you work in Germany. They ready to promote that song. It has gone to #1 there, and they cannot get in touch with the artist. I was like, really? So I looked into it, and I went over there to promote that record because the young kids couldn't leave the States at that time for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. So I go over there and I start working for BMG. I got a record deal, and I'm trying to write songs to get a single. They don't accept any of my songs. I write 70 songs. They even hired me to start writing for NSYNC and a couple of other groups that were over there on BMG Areola. When artists are having a success in the States, Germany or London will license the song over there, and then they'll do their own push, and the artist gets a portion of the money, but a lot of it's going to the new country because they're doing it. So I was over there doing that. So I had left that band because I got this opportunity. So I went from that band to over there as a writer, trying to be an artist. And then Master P finally sent payment for the cover he did of Thinking About You. Woke one morning, the tears in my eyes. He has a cover of that. And he also has a cover of Rumors. So when I reached out for his folks, he had that put aside and was ready for me. So I got that money while I was in Germany, so I needed to come back to the States to deal with it. But I'm an addict. One of the reasons why I was going over there is because I could get away from the crack that was here. My naive ass did not think that there was drugs in Germany. That's not true. There are drugs everywhere. Yeah. So I get over there and I'm trying to do music and it's not working. I get that call from Master P. So I come back. But now you give me that kind of money, that size to an addict. I went through it. And then I realized what had happened, and then I'm like even more depressed. So life took a bad turn, and I was kind of out there pretty bad on crack cocaine, not needles or anything like that. Then I ran into a guy who asked me if I wanted to get sober. And he told me about a drug his therapist had given him called Wellbutrin. So he started sharing his drugs with me. And it turns out I was depressed because I started taking that shit and I started getting giddy, started getting happy, started writing again, started dating again, started working again, ended up getting married. And I get married and I started working with a guy from Andre Nicotina at $1 Million Dream Records. And he did my second solo album of my career in 2004. The very first album I did was 1986. So 2004, I do "Love Lies and Life," which is a cover, which is a play on the name from Club Nouveau, whose album was "Love Lies and Life," I think. Anyway, I was trying to hit them where it hurt, but anyway, I did that project with him. And it had a couple of songs on there that the producer, Nick Reese, liked, and he was about to go on tour with Andre Nicotina and Equipto and a bunch of other artists. And he's known me since we were in high school. He's a friend. He's like, Michael, come on tour with me. I know you just got married, but April, trust me. Come out here with me, and I'll make sure you're safe and you stay away from all that stuff. And we can get your feedback on you and get you a new audience. I did that for 15 years. Wow. Built my audience back up, did 7 albums, and ran into the artist Equipto from San Francisco, and ever since then, it's just been me and him doing music. I still get hired by other people, but he is my partner in crime, Equipto. The KIM albums, keep it moving. It's a franchise.
So your career is still moving. You're still making music. Before we let you get out of here, you're from the Bay. I gotta ask, are you a big sports fan? I've seen some stuff on the social. Looks like you might be into the Warriors a little bit. Talk to me a little bit about that and your sports fandom before we let you ride out.
Okay, but since I'm from the Bay, it doesn't make sense to not root for all the teams. I'm kind of a square, so I don't follow the leads of all the standards that are going on with men. I'm who I am. So I root for the Raiders, the Niners, the A's, the Giants, and the Sharks. And of course, the Warriors, I mean, that's our only home team. I don't care if it was in Sacramento. It's our Northern California team. Why would I root for them? But the fact that they are now winning, bro, I was a fan that I got here at 65, right? Born in 65. They won a championship at 72 and 73, or 73 and 74, back to back. And they hadn't won nothing since. But I'm a giant Warrior fan. You know how much I got my ass beat from losing bets that the Warriors gonna beat the Lakers, the Warriors gonna beat Houston, the Warriors gonna beat Sacramento, any team. They all beat us. And I was too dumb to realize, bro, it's more than just your fandom that determines if they win. You're gonna keep losing money out here. Yeah, but I'm a big fan of all the Bay teams, and I'm very proud of the Warriors. They've turned it around. So this generation's got to see some winners. We didn't see no winners. We saw some hard-playing guys, some people who, if you're a real Warrior fan, you love those guys, the Ron Higgins and the Baron Davises and the Tim Hardaways and the Mullins, all those guys, they gave us joy watching them play. We just couldn't win them. But this kid, Steph came, him and Draymond and then Clay, and they started winning like that, man. I didn't think I was going to be able to see that. I'm so happy and proud of the Warriors.
That's what's up, man. Well, I'm happy for you. You deserve all the greatness and sunshine you can get it wherever you can get it as well. You've paid your dues in this game. You're continuing to be an inspiration. You still got the vocals. You're out here doing it better than some of these young cats for sure. So I'm happy for you, Mike, and I'm really proud of the time that we were able to spend here today. Thank you so much, man. Any last plug before we let you get out of here?
Yes. First, thank you, Warren, and my IG is the Mike Meezy, TheMikeEmeezy, and then all other things that you need to know about me, history, music, all the albums, all the links, articles, and all that stuff is under MichaelMarshallUSA.com. Check it out.
Yes, sir. That's like a Wikipedia. I was on that thing too. I was like, oh man, look at my guy. There's a lot of great stuff on there, Mike. Thanks so much for sharing. That is all the time we have for today. I want to thank the talented and gracious Mike Marshall, Mike Meezy, for joining us and giving us of his time, and we're just really walking us down memory lane and how the music industry has worked and how it's treated him and how he's overcome and is still here and still doing great things. I'm your host, Warren Shaw. Thanks so much for tuning in to Dope Interviews. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe, do the whole nine. This has been another Dope Interview. Thank you again, Mike Marshall, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.
Together we stand, divided we never. The vision is one, striving for the better. Working as a team, working toward a dream. It's not even work when the team is the dream. On a united front, we got our own back. A band of brothers to counteract any attack. One heart in fact, forget what the blood say. Dope is what flows in this fam's DNA. So let's do it for the love, give to the max. Listen to opinion, but react to facts. And remember that together with a but separate, just pieces of it. Dope is what flows in this fam's DNA. Dope is what flows in this fam's DNA.
Family represent like a tree with names on it. We're free, no chains on it. Relieved, the pain's gone, I can see. We come together like questions on a quiz. Mojo Flow and Viz, man, you know what it is. And if ignorance is bliss, you're gonna hate this lesson. Organized intellect like a tropical depression. My symbol is the cross, a mic and ghost peppers. Cause I'm just a black sheep, growing up to be a shepherd. Moonlighting as a weapon to protect the children. Every brother is a father, dynasties we're building. Max, J and K, Bay, and Isaiah, next level of the family foundation, understand me?